Hey everyone, shake off that hangover or that still drunkenness. I know you just watched Super Bowl 49. We had a classic on our hands. The Patriots defeat the Seattle Seahawks 28 to 24 for their fourth Super Bowl since the turn of the century, turn of the millennium, whatever you want to call it. I'm Jeff Rich, happy to be here with you for the Down by Contact Sunday post game Super Edition. As always, I'm joined by Chris Green. I know that Chris watched the game. I know that he has a lot to say. So, hey, what's going on, Chris?
Hey, Jeff, what a great game, though I do feel like I gained 5 pounds during it.
Oh, what was the spread for your little Super Bowl soiree?
Well, we had uh, they were wings, of course, honey mustard wings.
Gotta have the wings.
Um, we had a nacho chips with like a cheddar like, sausage dip, like a Velveeta cheddar sausage dip with salsa mixed together, very good.
Nice.
And then my wife made these wonderful Reuben egg rolls.
Reuben egg rolls, you say?
Yep. Yes. I never had them before, but they were awesome.
I think that you could pretty much wrap any tasty food into a wonton and make it into a delicious egg roll.
Yes.
It takes a certain talent to roll those things up and to cook them to spec, but yeah, you got to appreciate that. We stuck with the standard fare in the at the ranch. We had the big thin crust pizza.
Hmm.
You know, variety of wings. We had the cold cuts, the cheeses, the chips and dip. I started doing those Tostitos roll-ups with the Frito Lay or the Tostitos
Hmm.
nacho cheese, and I'm full. And then the wife actually prepared adult root beer floats for dessert. So we had a little bit of
Nice.
root beer vodka with some Bluebell vanilla ice cream. It was good to go, man. It was good to go. But there was also a football game. Now, the first thing you said when I asked what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about the Super Bowls, and you said the commercials. So let me ask you first. The commercials, underwhelming, overwhelming, par for the course, and did you have a favorite?
Unless you like sappy commercials or car commercials, I thought they sucked.
I'm right there with you. You know what? We were talking about it. We think that the men are there for the football game. They're gonna get up and go to the bathroom during the commercial breaks. And it's almost like this, the non-football stuff was marketed to the non-football fan. A lot of really emotional, touching stuff. The
Hmm.
Budweiser commercial was very much the same as it was
Yep.
a year ago, and
Hmm.
nothing really stood out. Now I'm not one
No.
that pays particular attention to the commercials, but I have to acknowledge as an observer of the Super Bowl for 20 plus years that usually there's something that stands out. I didn't really find anything to have stood out. Maybe the little Squarespace commercial with what's his name, Jeff Bridges. They're doing the Dreaming with Jeff website and the Wix.com. GoDaddy's not the only web provider on the block. So
Yep.
it was interesting to see some of the technology companies get involved. But we did have a football game. They came out of the gate. New England looked like they outplayed Seattle in the first half. They stalemated in the first quarter. The second quarter, it looked like New England was getting ready to pull away from really open the floodgates and put it to Seattle. The goal line interception by Brady, Brady the Lane hurt early, and that probably stopped them from pulling out. But you get into the second quarter, you look like you're going to go in up 14-7. You give Russell Wilson the ball with 31 seconds, and he drives it down the field with a couple of nice passes after being what 0 for the first quarter and a half
Yep.
of
Uh-huh. Yep. Absolutely. It was very low scoring, kind of what we expected. But you're right. I mean, New England took. I would say they pretty much had total control of that first half, and yet they went into halftime tied at 14, and that had to have been disheartening for New England because they totally outplayed Seattle. But you know what? Just it didn't in no time. It was almost like a repeat of last week. They came right down the field and scored.
Yeah, and Seattle, I think that 16 to nothing hole helped them because they're
Hmm.
never dead.
Yeah, exactly.
After what they did in the NFC Championship, they're never dead. So they go down 7-0, they equalize it. They go down 14-7, and they turn it around when you think the half is over. You think, hey, they're gonna get the second half kickoff. They're gonna play conservatively, and then Turbin has the long run, and it just sets up that drive for them to for them to be down there. And how about Chris Matthews? He's the guy you never
Who?
heard of that recovered the onside. We said it was Doug Baldwin that recovered the onside kick. That's how much of a nobody Chris Matthews was. And
Yeah.
this guy, just plays one of those games, and you keep thinking back to the David Tyree catch. I know it's a little cliche, but it plays better in the end. But then to think of Matthews just taking the ball away from New England defenders, but um, a lot of what the first half went a lot as I expected. I expected New England to have more success running after the catch than any team that Seattle's played this year, and we
Hmm.
saw it plenty. I mean, it wasn't
Yep.
they weren't big runs.
No.
They were catching the ball, they were getting maybe
But they
7
did
or
little
8
sneak
yards after the
plays.
catch. But it's something that Seattle's not used to, and I think it's them being. I think a big part of that goes to that secondary being shaken up, because you can defend the pass if you're hurt, but it's a little bit harder to tackle at the NFL level if you're shaken up, especially with upper body injuries like Richard Sherman had. Cam Chancellor was shaken up, Earl Thomas. So those guys, they weren't at 100%, but that's life in the NFL, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you didn't even mention the fact that they lost Lane at the very beginning too, after he picked off Brady in the end zone. He got knocked out on that play. As Edelman went over and took him out on the sideline, and he was done for the game. He couldn't come back. So they were even thinner than they were going into it with all the injuries. So that played a big part in this.
Yeah, and then they had to go with Simon, and Simon didn't play a bad game, but they were able to take big advantage of the mismatch with Gronkowski, because you can't really cover him with a safety or a linebacker because you have size issues, and if you don't have size issues, you have speed issues with Gronk. They took advantage of it early. They took advantage of it again late. Tom Brady missed through a couple of footballs, and that kept Seattle in the football game. But it was a whole, it turned into a 30-minute game is what happened, because
Yep.
you have the low scoring first half, you have the borderline miraculous drive by Russell Wilson, and he looks like, okay, he's going to start slow and he's going to turn into the MVP of this game, and he just he made the few select throws that he needed to make to keep his team in the game. Marshawn Lynch did himself did what he always does, and then New England just kind of figured out how to stop it. And that's when the game of football is really won, when you take something away like the Patriots took away Marshawn Lynch late in the game, and you force Russell Wilson to make plays. And I don't understand. Okay, so let's set it up. The Patriots go down 24-14. They come all the way back. They get it to 28-24. Last drive of the game, Russell Wilson just kind of turns it on. He goes over the top because they scored with 2:02 left. So he was literally in 2-minute drill mode.
Yeah.
And he throws a pass that looks like New England had a beat on. Kearse missed it, and the ball just didn't hit the ground, and it kept not hitting the ground until Kearse hauled it in and actually got up and fell another yard to the 5, and Seattle gets it down to the 1-yard line, and the commentators, it's just like the game against the Giants. Are like,
Yeah, David Tyree all over again.
do you let them see? And the conversation goes, do you let them score and give your offense a chance? But there is no letting them. And we talked about it. I had my father over here, and we're talking about you never let them score because you never know what's going to happen. They could have stuffed Marshawn Lynch on 2nd and 3rd down and set up a very interesting 4th down play. We just saw it 2 years ago with Colin Kaepernick. He got San Francisco in that same situation, and he could and they couldn't punch it in on 4 plays. Seattle only took 2 because they threw the ball, and Malcolm Brown, after getting burnt / just falling unfortunate to to bad bounces of the football, he makes the big play and picks the ball off. And I thought that the right team won the football game. I thought the team that played better on Sunday night won the Super Bowl.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, you see that play with Kearse getting that ball after it's tipped all around, and I forget which Patriots player dove over top of it and could have knocked the ball away and didn't before Kearse came down with it. And you're thinking, like I said, you're thinking David Tyree, Giants all over again. They're about to lose. They got Lynch there. First down, they run him, and he gets stopped at the half-yard line. So you figure they got to go back to Lynch again and run it in, but they didn't for whatever reason. I don't know. They just tried to be too smart, and they threw the pass on the pick play, and Brown picked it off and ended the game. But real quick after that too, what was Seattle doing there? You know, I get that they had a chance at the end, but the fight there, that was just plain stupid. I'm so glad they threw out Irvin because that was just plain stupid and unsportsmanlike and wasn't necessary at all.
I was legitimately frustrated with the way that they were spoiling such a great game
Exactly.
with the ugliness. Unfortunately, it turned out to be brief. NBC did, you know, and NBC. If there was ever a shill for the NFL, it's NBC. You know,
Mhm.
Roger Goodell doesn't talk to the media today, and NBC's cool with that. And you know, they were very lighthearted about the deflated balls. And you and I said in our pregame show, it's so overblown, but it's still an issue. And I thought that the way that NBC behaved, the way that Al Michaels and Collinsworth shilled for the league throughout the playoffs, I thought it was a little embarrassing, quite frankly. But you know what? When push came to shove, literally, I thought that they did as good a job as they could with that situation, considering that Seattle really pushed the envelope with it. It wasn't just some shoving. I mean, Bruce
Yeah.
Irvin ran from one hash mark to the other
Mhm.
to continue to instigate a fight, and I'm glad that they tossed him. It was meaningless. It was more a sentimental ejection than anything
Yeah. Oh yeah.
left, but. New England was really in a predicament before Bennett jumped offside, and I thought Michael Bennett, number 72 for Seattle,
Yep.
played a heck of a football game. I thought that he was really staring at being another one of those defensive MVPs, and we haven't seen that many because almost by default it goes to the quarterback of the
Quarterback.
team
Yep.
these days. But
Mhm.
I thought that Bennett played a heck of a game. He got caught just trying to maybe force the safety, because I was almost thinking New England should have taken a safety there, but to avoid the fumbled snap. But
Sure.
they got fortunate with the offsides call, and then the next snap is the next snap was the fight from the 6. So they
Mhm.
end up with the ball at about the 20-yard line. It took them a while to end the game. But speaking of ending the game and the speed of the game, this game was start to finish in about 3.5 hours. It was almost a standard length game considering the extended halftime. I'm really proud of the NFL for not dragging this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I think halftime took as long as the first two quarters combined, if not more.
It was, and that was another thing that didn't really seem to entertain your status quo football fan. It didn't entertain anyone in this house. And
I know my wife liked it.
hey, okay, well, you know what? There's one person, and
Yeah.
what I thought was funny is, I'm 9 miles east of the stadium here,
Mhm.
and we're watching the fireworks and everything. Is if it was pitch dark outside, I'll have to
Mhm.
tweet the picture I took from my front yard while they were blowing fireworks off the halftime show, because it was still, the sun hadn't gone all the way down yet. So it's funny how TV messes with the visuals, especially when it comes to the light of day.
Yeah, exactly. But the Super Bowl was just amazing. It was a great game. I mean, we talked about it before. We thought it was going to be a good game. We were right in the fact that we both picked New England to win, and we were right in the fact that we said nobody was going to get to 30. And I mean, all those things came true there.
Well, and by the skin of their teeth, okay?
Well,
Because I
yeah.
think Seattle keeps the ball on the ground. They go up at least 30 to 28. Yeah, they probably kick the extra point to go up
Yeah.
3. So, but it was an interesting game. It could have very easily been a lot lower scoring. It
Mhm.
could, and you could have added some points on the board. You got to consider that both quarterbacks threw goal line picks. So
Yeah.
in a game that what's that add up to 52? I mean, they scored 52, which is, I think, a lot considering how good these defenses are. But I thought it was a great game. I thought that the playoffs were great. I thought the Super Bowl was fantastic. I look for the Patriots to keep it going. Seattle's got a lot to look at financially in the offseason, whether they can keep this team together or not. And I think it starts with how much you got to pay number 3. And I think that he's earned every penny of the 9-figure contract that he figures to ink this offseason.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I could definitely see where both of these teams will. I mean, especially New England because they're going to be together, and like you said, Seattle has some questions. But I mean, with the defense they have, if they're able to keep most of the team together, if not all of it, I could foresee that both of these teams being back here again next year.
And one of the stories of the game, obviously Matthews, but they talked about all the undrafted free agents on the
Hmm.
field for both teams, and that's what you have to do. You have to be cap savvy, and you have to be able to find that diamond in the rough, even if they can only help you for a year or two before they get paid somewhere else.
Hmm.
And I think that the autonomy situation that both Belichick and Carroll have, it keeps the vision of what you want to do on the field with what you have to do in the front office, and not many people can do it. Mike Holmgren certainly was unable to do it, and we've seen it across the league. It's just it's tough to be a personnel guy and an NFL head coach. And I think that we have two guys that were they're conference champions at the very least that displayed their ability to do it.
On a bitter Browns fan note, I'm disappointed that Mike Lombardi is getting a Super Bowl ring 1 year later, though.
Yeah, you know what? I'm still kind of glad that I would have loved for thinking if the Colts would have played with thoroughly inflated footballs and somehow managed to erase a 38-point deficit and end up in this game. I would have been happy for DeQuell Jackson, but not for
Hmm.
Josh Cribbs or Trent Richardson if a little bit of my bitterness can come out.
That's okay. We're bitter Browns fans. People expect that from us.
Well, that's why we talk about the NFL in general, so that it's not just a bitter hour with Jeff and Chris.
There we go.
All right, man. Hey, that does it for the 2014 NFL football season. Final thoughts.
Wow, it flew by. The playoffs were awesome this year. There was a ton of good games. I mean, there's so many years you have a lot of blowouts, and really, with I think the exception of the New England Indianapolis game, I don't think there was any other blowouts in the playoffs, which says a lot. So, I mean, there were lots of great games. The Super Bowl was great. Um, I mean, if we hadn't had to listen to this whole Deflategate nonsense the last couple of weeks, I think would have won an almost perfect postseason, to be honest. I mean, there's just a lot of good things going on, a lot of great, amazing plays. It's amazing. Football is over again already, and it just doesn't seem like it started that long ago.
All right, I got one prediction to ask you for before we get
Okay.
out of here. And every year the playoffs seem to turn over. We never have the same 12 teams. Of the other 20 that didn't make the playoffs, who do you see making some noise in January and maybe even February next year?
Whew, that didn't make the playoffs?
That did not make the playoffs. And I'll give you mine first. I'm going to tell you,
Okay.
I think that the Philadelphia Eagles, they didn't do the things that they needed to do to get into the tournament, and that's why they were setting tee times in early January. But I think that Chip Kelly, with another year to work on the conditioning, to build his defense, to figure out his quarterback situation, because it doesn't seem to matter who. He just needs something sustainable there. And I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are a good bet to go far in the NFC playoffs a year from now.
Yeah, they would definitely be a good choice. Hmm. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go. This is a tough one, but I'm gonna go with the Houston Texans. They were right on the fringe of it this year. Um, Assuming they figure out their quarterback situation, I think they're going to be a tough team next year, and I could see them definitely making a playoff run.
Oh, sure. J.J. Watt, unquestionably top five defensive player, if not the top one, and he's going to
Mhm.
have Jadeveon Clowney next to him a year from now. So I think that that's a pretty solid pick. So we have that in all of 2015 to look forward to. The league year starts on March 10th, but from February 1st, we're all wrapped up. So for Chris Green, follow Chris on Twitter at CGRN731. I'm Jeff Rich at by Jeff Rich. The network is the More Than a Fan Digital Network. Follow them at MTAF Sports and have a great off season. We'll see you again when the league year starts in March here on Down by Contact with Jeff Rich.